Well, thank you everybody for being here today. I'm really excited to get together with you gals on such a beautiful day. And it's always a great day to talk about Pampered Chef stuff, I think. So I'm just so incredibly proud of all of you, and that includes everybody watching the recording too. And just so thrilled to be able to, be a part of this team and to be I don't know, I'm just excited. So, all right, so we're going to start out with a little bit of organizational recognition and acknowledgement of our successes over the last few months. Due to some weirdness, I guess, which is the way of our lives right now, we haven't really had much in the way of meetings. So I wanted to just go back a couple of months. The last time we really had an opportunity to sort of recognize our successes was in July, right after conference. So I want to just, it was late July, I think we got together, but, or early August actually. So anyway, we're going to go back to August and look at some very exciting numbers. So right now we're going to do organizational recognition, and then we'll look at, individual later on. So don't worry if you're, wondering about that. But so in the month of August, our organization, which is, our entire Team Phoenix organization. So my personal team, Team Wildfire, which is Trisha's team, and then Team Rise Up, which is Rhonda's team, had $23,974 in overall sales. Yes, I have my conference clapper, so I will be. And we, as an organization, held 44 shows or 44 parties, which is pretty exciting because I was looking at some year over year numbers. That is up 266% from last year in August.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Huge increase there. And then we had 22 members of our team active in that month, which is about 50% of our organization, which is up 340% from August of 2019. So very, very exciting there. Okay, September, we had $27,205,000 in sales. And a huge increase, about double from September of 2019. We had 47 parties. So again, about double from the prior year. And then 22 active team members again. So that is very exciting. Again, about 50% of our team. And then in October, we had total organizational sales of $26,365, which is a 244% increase year over year from October of 2019. So definitely there. 30 parties were submitted in October, and we had 23 people active. So we had one more person active than we did the prior 2 months. And that's a 230% increase from last year. So you guys, those all the way around, huge increases this year. Very exciting. I do want to kind of go back to the number of number of shows. Sorry, that's like throwback to 15 years ago. Sorry. So when I look at the number of parties, to me, this is a very significant thing to look at, because we as consultants have, not a lot of control necessarily over the sales that we do, which we do, but we don't. But we do have some control over the number of parties that we have, whether it's as a conscious decision or, as an unconscious decision. But whatever the case may be, in the spirit of abundance, I always look at the number of parties, because that is, I think, where we can really make some changes in terms of if we want to within our business. So I want to look at November. So last year in November of 2019, our organization submitted 50 parties. Okay. Now this year we have about double the number of people in our organization as we had last year. So what do you guys think about doubling or shooting to double the number of parties that we submit in November? What do you guys think about that? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Should we go somewhere in between? Should we go? I want to have sort of a little challenge to work towards this month. It's exciting, and I think if we have something to work for, it's cool. So what do you guys think? We had 50 last year. Should we shoot for 60, 75, 100? You can put it in the chat if you don't want to unmute. Show us in the chat what number you think we should shoot for November. And we'll have a little challenge going for the month of November. So that is like I said, very exciting numbers for our organization. And I want to just thank every single one of you, whether you're here live or watching the recording. You guys are all an important part of that, overall picture for our organization, regardless of how much you submitted as a part of that. It all counts and it all is important. And I want you guys to know that and know that you guys are appreciated so much. And I also very much appreciate my upline, almost executive director, Jill Johnson. She's here with us today to really just give us some great information. I'm super excited because I'm going to sit back and learn from her as well, along with you guys. And we've just had a great time working together planning this meeting. So thank you so much, Jill, for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm also very excited to be able to do this, although not quite the same as when we've been able to get together in person as we had planned in April for a downline visit. And then, of course, the Rona threw that out of the water and try to do it again. But the good thing is, had we been doing that, not everybody that's on the screen right now would have been able to join us. Right. I know Rachel is on the East Coast and Robin is on the West Coast, and people are all sorts of different places in between. So based on geography, your schedules might not have worked anyway. So this is absolutely a great alternative to getting together in person. So as some of you know, we usually start out meetings and so many things, life, every day of your life, thinking about what's going right. Okay, so we're doing an experiment though, because I have not done this before. And in this manner, so you guys are all guinea pigs. So if you'll bear with me, we're experimenting with a Zoom feature. So what I want to try to do is have you guys get into small groups, which you can do, but I've been looking and I've not been able to find, I tried to do it in a small group with myself and it wouldn't let me do it. So I couldn't practice it before. Like I got on my iPad and on the computer thinking maybe, but it wouldn't let me do it. It's not letting me do it right now. And I'm thinking it might be because it's recording. So I'm going to pause the recording and see if the small group thing becomes, there we go. And jump back in because we still want to hear what's going right with everybody. So we're just going to also, because the other thing is we want to kind of see where you guys are joining us from and kind of who you are. So if you would do us a favor and just introduce yourself, say maybe where you are like located, you're not where you are like, in life from a philosophical standpoint, but where where you are sitting, your butt, and what's going right in your business. So Natalie, picking you, dear. Go first.
Okay, I am in Houghton, Michigan. It's in the Upper Peninsula. I guess some people are also from there, but I am in grad school up here, so I'm kind of doing a like part-time sort of deal, at least for right now with my business. And what's going right? I guess I'm assuming you mean like in the business.
Yes.
Okay.
Not that we don't care otherwise, but for today, for right now purposes, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm doing what's going right is I am consistently reaching out to people, just like trying to get some traction with just like reaching out to older friends and like new people about like hosting parties and like if they've ever used Pampered Chef before or been to a party. So I've been consistent with that. Haven't had much luck with actually consistently booking, but I know that it's a good thing to keep the consistency. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And we'll be talking some more about that later. So maybe can, help with a little bit with the actual shows on your calendar part of it. Yeah, all right. Great. Sarah, your turn.
Well, I will be closing a party probably in the next day or two. She's just picking out her things. And I have 2 parties starting tomorrow and the next day. And I got a new recruit yesterday. So that's like
Wow, super exciting.
Beginning of the month.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Rachel, your turn.
Sorry, got to unmute. I'm Rachel, and I am from upstate New York. And I am just at the end of my first party of November, and I was a little bit discouraged because I was excited in the beginning because most of the people hadn't heard of Pampered Chef, but it seems that that's turned into not paying attention to the party. And
Ooh.
so I'm trying to encourage the host. Yeah. So, but I had 2 former hosts who are in the party right now. They just put in their orders and got her up over $500.
Wow.
And now they started posting this morning, just like their favorite things. And so
Oh my goodness.
I told them, I think that really helps, especially it's a Pakistani and Indian culture for the most part, and they have a different way of cooking, I think, than a lot of Americans do for certain things. So like one of my friends posted the stainless steel mixing bowls because they do a lot of marinating, and she's like, these are a game changer for marinating. I just put them in my fridge overnight and the lid snaps on. So I thought that was really helpful and encouraging to me that they would take the time to do that for me. So we'll see how it turns out.
Wonderful. Yes, that can make all the difference in the world for sure. Very
Mhm.
cool. Good. All right. And let's see who is up next. Robin, your turn. So introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining us from and something that's going right in your business.
Hi everyone. So I am in Los Angeles, and it is, I want to say 11:45 in the morning or 20 to 11 in the morning. And thank goodness Natalie woke me up. So thanks, Natalie. Sorry, what was it? Where am I and what's going great? So for me, what I'm in a very easy time. I'm on my 4th party. They haven't been huge sellers. They've all qualified, and some of them have been, $500, $600, which I'm okay with because I'm learning. But I haven't had to struggle to find parties because, as I explained to Janine and to Natalie in the beginning, I have friends in a lot of different groups. So that's easy for me, and it's a good time. So it's just, I go down my list and say, okay, when do you want to start your party? And I don't have to, I'm not out there scrounging. So that's going well. And then in my parties, I start slowly. I start with the basics, the must-haves, the Pampered Chef items that I've had a lot of excellent feedback that people that do know the product, which I was amazed is so widespread, have called out, and I share those and I point out how innovative and useful and how they're going to change your life. And I start there, the can opener, which is legendary and just there, and then I work my way up.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
All right. And Judy, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm also in Houghton, and I'm pretty new, only a couple weeks in, and I'm still working at getting some bookings in. I've been going down my list, and I'm trying to start tracking that more efficiently so I can get some bookings in there, but just waiting for them to come in.
All right, cool. Good. And let's see. Oh, I rearranged on my screen here a little bit. Sherry, your turn.
Yes, I figured I better put my camera on just for a hot second, even though it's a, get stuff done Sunday.
Yeah, girl, look at us all.
Right?
Yes.
Right? So I'm Sherry Solo. I'm in Gladstone. So up in the UP as well. So hi, Natalie. So I have been doing this for what, 10? I think this is my actually, November is my 11th month. I signed up December 29th of
Mhm.
last year. So I actually started in January. And what is going right is last month, I think it was either, oh no, it's November. So in September, I hit the $15,000 mark.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
So
Awesome.
yeah, so that
Good
so
for
that
you.
was something that's going well.
Awesome. That's terrific. Well, thank you so much. So exciting. It's such an important thing to share with each other, and great to hear that and get a chance to, toot your horn a little bit. But even just on your own, it's so important to be thinking about all those things that are going right. And that, definitely leads into kind of one of the things that we'll be talking about today, because we always talk about this at every sort of meeting, even when Janine and I just talk between ourselves. We talk about it. And let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Incidentally, I have figured out the problem with the breakout rooms that I was not able to do, that I may be able to get going later. So that will be good. But in the meantime, let's get this going. And ta-da! Thought this was a fun little screen here to kick things off with all that lovely colorfulness. But moving into some of the additional information, this is what we're starting with. So some of you may know this. Janine does. Natalie maybe does, because incidentally, Janine is not only downline director, but also we are sisters, and Natalie is our niece. So if you are looking at, any of the people around you, family members or friends that you might want to have join your team, I highly encourage it, because it's a lot of fun. But I had to put this Big Mac picture up here because it goes along with what we're kind of our theme today, which is MAC, which is your Big Mac for today is mindset, action, and consistency. And those are sort of the three segments that we're going to be talking about. And when I realized that said MAC, I thought, oh, what I was saying that some of you might not know about me is I'm a fan of McDonald's, particularly the Diet Coke at McDonald's. I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't drink coffee or tea or anything like that, hot, cold, anything. So if I'm going to go somewhere and like outside of my house and sit and work, it's not going to be Starbucks. It's going to be McDonald's, because my Diet Coke is on tap. So, I'm often in my satellite office there, or I was up until March. Not so much anymore, but someday I'll be able to go sit at McDonald's. Been in McDonald's all over the country. It's kind of a thing to like find the McDonald's and see if it's a nice one or not. But anyway, you are probably not quite as sort of attached to McDonald's. So I don't know if I'd say attached, but anyway, I thought the Big Mac picture was appropriate, and maybe we'll help this to stick in our minds when you're thinking about your business, because a Big Mac is going to be a big boost to your business. So when you look at the mindset, action, and consistency that are part of that. So that first one with mindset comes to really thinking about everything in terms of abundance. And Janine kind of, I know, mentioned this when she was doing the recognition at the beginning of the meeting about this. And the reality is your mindset of abundance or scarcity is sort of the other side of that, which we will not talk about, because we don't talk about the things that we don't want to pay attention to, right? And we'll be more about that later. But abundance will carry over into absolutely every aspect of your life. And for today, we're really talking about how it relates to your business. And that kind of breaks down into some examples here, as far as the place where the perspective that you have and the way that you speak and the way that you function. And one of the kind of the primary thing is that the idea that there's enough for everyone, that there is not a shortage of those things that are important to us, whether it's tangible or intangible. In this case, as the example says, you don't have enough customers, that's okay, you can find more. All right, now let me say, before, kind of as a side note, this does not ever mean that we don't have problems, there aren't some challenges, your calendar doesn't necessarily look the way you want, but the way that the perspective you're coming from makes a huge difference. And if you look at a light calendar and you say nobody wants to have a show, that's very different than looking at a light calendar and saying, I don't have what I'd like, but that's okay because I know those bookings are out there and I'm going to find them. That's the abundance mentality. Being proactive instead of reactive. Abundance would sort of inspire you to go out and do some things, to make some things happen because you know that it's there. So for example, if you knew that somebody wanted to have a show because they told your cousin and you're supposed to call them, well, then you're going to take that action, right? Because it's sort of a for sure thing. They already said they want to have a show. You need to check in with them to get that show booked. An abundance mindset is saying there is a show out there. You may not know what the phone number and the person's name is because your cousin maybe didn't give you that information. But you're in the same frame of mind in terms of knowing, coming from a place of knowing that the business is out there, which means then that you're going to reach out for it. In the same way that if you knew somebody wanted to have a show, you would not wait for them to call you. You would call them or text them and say, hey, I'm excited about doing a show with you. How about this date? You would be proactive, okay? And the reason you would do it is because you knew that person wanted to have a show. So if your abundance mindset tells you that there are people out there that want to have parties, then you're going to take that same approach. You're going to be proactive and not wait around to see what happens. Abundance means that you are genuinely happy for other people. This can be a little tricky, right? Because if your business is here and you want it to be here and somebody else has already do the things you want to do, there might be a little part that's like, why is he or she have that business and not me? And that's unfortunate. It's no fun. It's a yucky feeling. And it also doesn't get you anywhere. So all of those things together really, I think, make it important to recognize that somebody else's success does not limit mine in this business. And I say that because not all businesses and jobs are like that. In some cases, somebody else's success really does limit yours. If you were both going for a promotion and they got it, that means you didn't. It's one of the beautiful things about Pampered Chef business is that everybody else is experiencing success, or those who are experiencing success that you would like, in no way keeps you from doing that because you know there is more than enough for everyone. Pampered Chef has a certain number of directors, but it's not because that's all there can be. It's not like a traditional situation where they might only have, 10 managers at that level. And if the spots are filled, they're filled. There's nothing to be done about that, right? In Pampered Chef, there are however many directors there are, only because nobody else has promoted to director yet. Once the next person makes that decision and takes those actions and meets the requirements, they're going to promote to director. They're never held back by the fact that somebody else is in that position. So it allows us to really build on that abundance, knowing I can celebrate for you, knowing that I can also do the same thing if I choose. Abundance means that you want to think big because you don't have limitations. There is enough for everybody. And so why wouldn't you think big and dream big and allow yourself to do that? Because any of the things that in many traditional jobs would keep us from dreaming big, those things like, well, somebody else is already in that position. They've been there for 20 years. They do a great job. They're going to be there another 20 years. I'm not going to be able to go in that direction. People get into often traditional jobs and the reason they leave or are dissatisfied is because there's not room for growth. And so for them thinking big in that context would just be a frustration because there literally are things that they can't really move beyond that are out of their control, other short of leaving, which is always an option and sometimes what people are compelled to do. In this business, there aren't any of those limitations. No matter what anybody else is doing, no matter what's going on, there is always an opportunity for you to do whatever it is that you'd like to do. So it's really empowering when you think about that, meaning that it is limitless. And abundance also means that you want to embrace growth and realize that just as there is enough for everyone, that abundance carries over into other things too, and into what we can get excited about in learning something new and growing in directions that we might not have done before. Sometimes that's a sort of a promotion growing or hitting a sales goal and growing in that way and things you might not have thought you could do. Sometimes it's your growth as a person. Sometimes it's gaining confidence and moving into areas and doing things that you thought, wow, if I had never thought, a year ago, I never thought I would be able to do that. And look at me now, I can talk to someone, I can master some technology that maybe I didn't know before. I can do some things in a way that are not only things that are kind of moving into what Pampered Chef is already all about, but maybe even some new things. maybe, you know, coming up with a whole new way of doing something that was successful for you that you pass on to other people. And that is in a form of abundance also, in the sense that there are not limits on your capacity to embrace that growth and learning new things and developing that as well. When this is the approach that you take to your business, it is a complete game changer if you're not currently. Now, some of you might already be going, yep, that's me. That's exactly where I am. And that's awesome. I mean, if you are, then more power to you. And if you are, whether you recognize it or not, you probably understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes this kind of seems to come a little more naturally for some people, and other times it's not. It's like many other things, you know, that are a natural tendency for some people, but that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that can do it, right? You got some people that are just can sit down and play piano beautifully without seeming to try very hard, and other people, you know, need to pay a little more attention and take the lessons and do the practice and that sort of thing, but can develop those skills and habits and routines and experience, you know, still a sense of accomplishment and joy that comes from it. One important thing to remember about abundance and lack or scarcity is that it is absolutely a choice. And if you read this quote, which I think is just such an accurate representation of where we are in sometimes moment to moment in our lives, that abundance and lack are both there. These are both the choices that we can go in whichever direction we want. And it is a choice. Now, you might be thinking, well, I didn't choose that. I tend to kind of go on that, you know, the more pessimistic side, the lack or scarcity side, but it's not a choice. The thing is that you have to realize that when you are not choosing something, you're choosing something. And by that, I mean, every action that we take and every thought that we think is a choice to go in this direction rather than that. Okay. And the more that we can realize that it is a conscious choice, the more it becomes a conscious choice. This might sound like kind of talking in circles, but it really comes down to that realization that the choice is ours, which garden we will tend. You know, I like that you may have seen that's kind of floating around social media, you know, the kid asking the father, you know, the grandfather talking about the two wolves, you know, and the good wolf and the bad wolf, basically. And the kid says, well, which one's going to win? And the grandfather says, whichever one you feed. They're not innately one more automatic than the other. There can be a tendency, often that's sort of environmental. It might be, you know, the way your parents were, or your coworkers, or things like that. They can influence that. But the reality is we always have the choice to think from an abundance mindset or a lack or scarcity mindset. And that choice is going to happen over and over and over. And we can choose which one we're going to nurture. Okay. After you do it for a while, it becomes more natural, and it becomes just sort of an automatic second nature way of functioning, which is really, really awesome. And you start to recognize abundance in lots of things, because that's an important thing to realize too. We're not necessarily talking about winning the lottery, although that would be abundance. But you know, sometimes it's finding $10 in the pocket of a jacket that you haven't worn before, right? Sometimes it's having, you know, a big bunch of beautiful strawberries on the bush in your yard. That's abundance. Sometimes it's having a bunch of parking spaces. When you go parking, you go to the store and there are open parking spaces. That's abundance. Even one is abundance, because that's all you need is one, right? At that point, that's exactly what you need. You don't need 10 open parking spaces. You're only going to use one anyway. So if there's one parking space for you, that's abundance, because it perfectly suits what your needs are. And that's the kind of thing that when it's almost like a game. When you start to recognize and really approach things from that mindset, it's amazing how many things. Janine, I see you kind of smiling, and I know that we've talked about this before.
I'll do things like, if my floor is dirty, I'm like, oh, we have an abundance of sand in the house.
Yeah.
Like, there's shoes by the door. Oh, we have an abundance of shoes. That's
right.
so great.
And what a blessing is that? Look at all these shoes. They're a mess and they're in my way, but wow, we've got a lot of shoes.
We got all the shoes.
Yeah. I remember not thinking consciously of it as abundance, but when our kids were little and they would, you know, little kids, they'll ask, you know, are we rich? Or, you know, they might, you know, have other friends or go places or whatever, or hear people talking about it, whatever, and ask, and I'd say, we are rich in kids. we've got 6 kids. I consider that to be a pretty abundant in terms of our our family. And you know, I think that there are so many things, and it's that choice of how you look at it. Does that abundance of sand make you go, wow, that's awesome, my kids have been having a great time outside? Or do you go, oh my gosh, I've got this big mess to clean up? Either way, the sand is there. Either way, you're going to clean it up. The choice is how you view the sand or the shoes. You know, I mean, I think that this is the really, really critical kind of nitty gritty part of how your approach to life in general. And certainly it applies when it comes into our businesses. So let's take a look at nurturing an abundance mindset. If you feel like this is an area that, you know, you might want to pay a little more attention to, or isn't quite where you'd like it to be. And frankly, even if it is, it's a good reminder, because I mean, I feel like I have pretty much of an abundance mindset, but it's not 100%. I don't think any of us ever are, right? So a few things that up here. So one of them is looking inward. Okay. And as far as this applies to our business, it's the looking into yourself and kind of what can I do? That last sentence, you're a wealth of ideas and opportunities to explore, rather than looking outward at maybe an empty calendar, because you can focus on that and kind of obsess about the fact that it's empty, or you can look inside, and that comes into the, okay, what am I going to do? What am I, you know, what's my role in this? And what are some ideas I can come up with, and looking at the abundance of opportunities and capability that I have, the abundance of information from other resources, and having, you know, that play into my role in addressing whatever the situation is. Being grateful for what we have, being grateful for the sand and the shoes, and, you know, whatever that might be that is happening in your life. Some things are very clearly easy to be grateful for, a beautiful sunny day. But what about, you know, when it's a rainy day, and we can still be grateful for that because I don't need to turn on the sprinkler and, you know, water my lawn, or my garden is, you know, going to grow, my grass isn't going to dry out, or we're going to have, you know, whatever it is that is happening. Sometimes I also think, well, I don't really need that rain because my lawn is fine, but somebody does, farmers do, you know. So if the farmers are going to have the abundance of rain that they need for their crops, then I'm okay with me having the rain too. And that, you know, that kind of fits the bigger picture. Focusing on growth. And this kind of goes back to the, you know, opportunities, that sort of thing. Scarcity believes you can't grow, and abundance believes that you can. This is sometimes referred to as a growth mindset. If you're ever looking for a good book to read, there's one called Mindset. It's all about having a growth mindset. And it's an amazing sort of scientifically based research based information about the way that your mindset, whether you think you can grow and change or not, affects, gosh, so many things in your life. Training your brain. This is kind of goes back to that, just getting in the habit. You know, when you have thoughts of lack or scarcity, recognize those and say, okay, you know, well, that might be true, but blah, 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 whatever else. So, okay, I don't have the shows in my calendar I want, but I'm going to get those shows because I know there are bookings out there. And when I do A, B, and C, I'm going to move forward in filling my calendar, so that you're not necessarily eliminating, kind of recognizing where there is a challenge or something, but you don't stop there. You don't let that be the thing that you continue to think about, because that's not serving you in any way. Literally serves no purpose whatsoever. So you really want to make sure that you get in the habit of, sometimes even unconsciously, recognizing this is not the place that I want to go. So we're going to shift over to something else instead. And that goes right along with the last one, the negative talk. That's, you know, whether you're putting yourself down, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser, I can't get any bookings. That's not helpful at all. Even if you're just talking about, well, I'm awesome, why don't I have any shows on my calendar? When you're bringing into that aspect of the lack or the scarcity, that's still something that is allowing the negativity to influence what you're doing. So these are some you know, aspects of shifting from a scarcity to an abundance mindset that you might find helpful. Okay, so we've got a little activity now for you to do. Isn't this guy cute? I thought he was cute. This is what I want you to do, guys, is just take a minute and close your eyes, first of all. So everybody close your eyes. And I want you to think about a time that you experienced abundance. It could be a big thing. It could be a small thing. It could be tangible. It could be emotional. time that you experienced abundance in your life. So think through a few things, see what comes to mind, pick one and kind of hold on to it for a few seconds. And then I want you to think about how that feels. Chances are it's a pretty good feeling. And maybe something includes a feeling of accomplishment if that abundance is a result of something that you did or influenced. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just something you were on the receiving end of that had, you know, not any kind of a response to something that you did, but still is abundance in your life. It can make you feel good about a person or people that are involved in it that maybe helped or contributed to that in some way. And chances are it's a feeling that you wouldn't mind having more of. So go ahead and open your eyes. Anybody want to share? I'm not going to put everybody on the spot and go around through everybody, but anybody want to share kind of what you decided to kind of think about as far as abundance and what, you know, what that was and how you felt about it?
I'll go. I don't know.
Okay.
Can you see me? I
Yes.
don't know. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's that resonates with me so much. Not because I spend a lot of time feeling sorry for myself and not being able to be happy for other people, but just it's an incredible concept. And I had to do IVF 6 times to have my child, and so one child for me, when you were talking about, you know, you've got an abundance of children, it just resonated because for me, one is more than an abundance. So that's my thing.
That's wonderful, Robin. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm getting all choked up now, but that's okay.
Me
No,
too.
it's okay. That's good. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's
See,
like the
and
whole concept resonated with me, and you know, I mean, and I have a bazillion shoes, and you know, so I was listening to Natalie and thinking, oh, that, you know, that's kind of funny because I have a pile of 500 shoes at the door. But you know what I mean? And then you
Yeah.
were talking about kids, and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Anybody else want to share your abundance or your thoughts about that with us? Okay, that's just fine. You hold on to it yourself because that's where it's most important anyway. But I think it's a good exercise for us to do once in a while and kind of a nice meditation. And the thing is that abundance is really, I think the bottom line of it is that it does open up unlimited possibilities. And again, personal life or professional life, you know, academics, Natalie is in grad school, you know, we have people in a lot of different places, but that abundance really, you know, is literally a mind shift into a realm that opens up so many possibilities. You want to be open to different ways that abundance can come to you. Again, it could be a result of some hard work. It could be a result of just being in the right place at the right time. I would say luck, although I'm not a big believer in luck. I think there's, you know, often more to it than just the fact that somebody, you know, got lucky, as they say, you know, that there's a lot of different kind of perspectives on what that might be, but sometimes we might not recognize or might not be obvious why that abundance, you know, showed up in our life. But again, with the unlimited possibilities, it really begs the question, why not think big and make your goals and your dreams larger than life? Because why not? I mean, you're the, you know, if there's not a limit on it, then anything that limits it means it's us limiting it, right? If there's not some other external thing. Now, again, and I don't mean to be all pie in the sky, everything's going to be, a piece of cake and no problem and never any challenges. But that then becomes our choice, how we handle those things. That's kind of a separate issue. But the fact that there are challenges doesn't mean that our possibilities are limited. It means that we may need to find another avenue, that we might need to be creative. We might need to learn some of those new things and grow in new ways. But the fact of the unlimited possibilities still is true. And that could end up that your life is larger than you thought when you allow yourself to go in that direction. All right, so we're going to stop there. I'm going to turn it back over to Janine, and we're going to do another chunk of recognition.
Okay, sorry. For some reason, my mouse didn't want to unmute me. All right, you guys. So I'm very excited to do August recognition. So we have, I'm going to do some recognition for my personal team plus Trisha's team, which is Team Wildfire, and then Rhonda's team, which is Team Rise Up. So I will start with Rhonda's team. So looking at the top 5 sellers in her team, we had Alyssa Ginden with $801, Chris Cretina with $405, Jessica Ball with 309, Heather with 237, and Sarah with 160. I do want to just briefly recognize Rhonda herself had personal sales of $2,281 for the month of August. So that was a great month for you guys. And Rhonda was the recruiter of the month for that team with 1 recruit. So that was exciting as well. For Team Wildfire, top 5 were Casey Kleikamp with $1,789 in personal sales, Stacy Keel with $1,008, Brittany with $694, and Ashley with $503, and then Angela Lindstrom with $411. And sorry, sometimes I'm saying first and last, sometimes just first. Sorry, guys, I'm not very consistent. And then on my personal team, we had number 1 in sales was Rachel Moore with 3,246. And since you're in here, Sherry Salo was number 2 with 2,184. 2,184. Did I say that right? Yeah. Tiffany Lindrus with 1,329, Leslie Chapman with 1,014, and Charlotte Files with $796 in personal sales. And Natalie was our recruiter in August, welcoming one person, Robin, who is with us today. So congratulations to everybody who was part of that August, month. And I do want to make one last note of recognition here from the standpoint of our entire organization. Rachel, you were top in sales for the entire organization with your $3,246. So congratulations to you, ma'am. So, all right, Jill, that's what I got for August.
Janine, I think we also want to do a drawing.
Oh, we do. And actually, yeah, I wanted to recognize one other thing. I'm sorry, you guys. Sorry, Jill. I did want to recognize everybody who was active in the month. So I'm just going to run through these names quick. Rachel, Sherry, Tiffany, Leslie, Charlotte, Crystal, Andy, Natalie, Lydia, Carolina, Casey, Trish, Stacy, Brittany, Ashley, Angela, and Rhonda, Alyssa, Chris, Jessica, Heather, and Sarah were all active in the month of August. So very, that's a big deal just to maintain that consistency and be active every month, which is the $150 at least in sales. So that was cool. And yeah, that's what I got. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. But let's do a drawing. We want to do several drawings. So for everybody who's on here, Janine, did you get a chance to put their names in a pot or something?
Oh yeah, well, no, I didn't know. I just wrote them down. Sorry, let me
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
All right. While she's doing that, I have another little fun thing for you guys. We're going to have you do a poll. Okay. So, here is the poll that's going to pop up, and we're going to have everybody do this, and that'll give Janine a minute to, and this is going to kind of lead into our next segment. All right, I've got 6 out of 7. Janine, did you do the poll?
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, now I did. Sorry.
Okay. All right, no, that's fine. It shows
And-
me like 7 out of 7 people have done it. So I was just kind of watching so I can
Oh,
see.
gotcha.
Okay.
And I have a winner. Can you
Oh.
guys read that?
Sarah.
Sarah?
Congratulations,
Sarah is
Sarah.
our
Woo-hoo,
winner.
our first winner for today. So make a note of that. You'll be getting some happy mail, and it's going to be a surprise. So, so you won't know what to expect, but it'll be something fun. All right, so I'm going to share the results here of this poll, and this is that showing up on your screen?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got one person that said 2 and one said 6, and 5 of you that said 10 or more. This is a really critical question to ask yourselves, you guys, because very often our goals in many things, certainly in bookings, tend to be skewed based on what we think we can get. Okay. And you really run the risk of limiting yourself when you do that. Okay. So we want to be very honest about what you would like to have in order to best approach your business. Again, where this all refers back also to the abundance mindset part of things, and the the approach that you're going to take to getting things based on what you truly want, not what you think is realistic. I tend to be a pretty realistic person, but I think that can also be, can work against us. All right. We want realistic to be something that supports us, not holds us back. Now, I'm going to also say, though, that this is not intended, nor is anything else we're talking about today, to be talking about what you should be doing with your business. This was not a right or wrong answer. There aren't even any names on here. This is all anonymous. It's just numbers of how many people did. So we're not going into this with a standpoint of, you should want this number rather than that number in order to be, kind of on track with your business. So let me stop sharing, but it does kind of give us an idea of what some of you have in mind, and hopefully also gives you an idea of, something that is a firm thing in your mind to move forward with as well. So let me go back to share my screen here. And we're going to move on to our next bite of the Big Mac. You'll see what I did there. That was actually totally off the cuff. I didn't even plan that. But the next bite of the Big Mac is action. That's our ACE. That's our A word. So let's kind of move into that, talking about booking. So we've taken all of that abundance mindset and all the good feelings and the good vibes, and we have positive expectations, and all that's great. So we want to put that into action. The really cool thing is that the more you feel good and you have that abundance mindset, you want to take action because you do feel good and you're excited and you're creative and you're like unlimited possibilities. So who would have all of that happening and then just want to sit and stare at the wall? Those two things don't match up. So when you have the abundance, it's going to lead into a better ability to act, and the things that you do, the actions you take, are going to be more effective. So let's talk about what some of those could look like, kind of from a nuts and bolts standpoint. Talk about bookings. Now, if you either are a new consultant and don't have parties really going on yet, you're kind of starting from scratch. Maybe you're not a new consultant, but your calendar is not where you would like it to be. Then you want to, in all of those cases, and really on an ongoing basis anyway, even when you have a good show schedule, you're always sort of cultivating both sides of things as far as the bookings coming from shows and outside of shows. So from the outside of show standpoint, part of the kind of problem that or question is, who should you talk to? And here there's an actual list. This is a Frank's list. You may have heard about this before. The Frank's, is referring to friends. And each of these items on the Frank's list, I think you want to expand that out. So you're looking at friends and also friends of friends, right? It could be referrals. It could be somebody that you met when you went and, had lunch with a friend and they brought another friend with them. And now you met somebody new. Well, now that person's your friend too. Now, I don't mean to say by this that you like pounce on everybody. Like, oh, you brought a friend, they must want to have a Pampered Chef party. But it's expanding your opportunities to have things, come up for conversations you have to kind of spread the word about, Pampered Chef and what have you. Relatives. Okay. So these are going to be your relatives. They're going to be your relatives. So it might be your cousin, and then your cousin has some in-laws by marriage. So those, make sure that you're expanding. This is a great area to be approaching it with abundance, not only just from the sort of vague standpoint of abundance of bookings, but also abundance of people in each of these categories. So it's not only your best friend, it's maybe some people that aren't super tight friends, but they're, somebody from church or the gym or school or what have you, and then their friends as well. So the abundance of friends and abundance of relatives, acquaintances. And so these can be people, as it says here, that through some of those places like church or where you get your hair cut or your nails done or going to the gym, or, people that you're at work with. It can also be people you used to work with that you no longer do. It could be somebody where you used to get your hair done and then they moved out of town, so you can't have them do your hair anymore, but can still connect with them maybe on social media. Your neighbors, the people in your literal neighborhood, your physical neighborhood, but then also sometimes there are some other community sort of neighbors that we have that we come into contact with as well. Maybe it's through some of those other things like a church or a gym, but the neighbors can come into play there. Connections through your kids, if you have children, if they are of school age, that can often be a great avenue if some, just parents of your kids' friends. And so even if your kids aren't little, if there are often still some activities, maybe you've got grown-up kids that play, softball and you go to the games. Well, that's no different than when your kid was 8 and played softball. You can chit chat with people, there are people there that you can expand on based on some form of connection through your kids and their friends and their families and their activities. Social media, this brings in a whole nother aspect of friends, right? And very often they're people that you may not ever have met before, but maybe you have in common that you're both in a group about sewing, and that's an area where you can, have, kind of cultivated a little bit of a friendship on the side in addition to that common interest. People who comment on your things, people where you're able to make some connections there. The thing you want to realize is that with a Pampered Chef business, you are the marketing department of your business. And so just as any other business does these sort of things on a small scale, if you were to open a little gift shop or a boutique, or on a large scale, like Starbucks. Okay. And the thing that happens with some place like Starbucks is they're not necessarily marketing all to their own friends because it's on such a large scale, but every one of these categories helps to expand Starbucks business because people talk to their friends about Starbucks and their relatives and their coworkers and their neighbors, and they're sitting at a ball game with that Starbucks cup in their hand, and somebody else might stop on the way home because boy, that sounds good. Or they're posting on social media about their first pumpkin spice latte that they got in the fall. So all of the marketing that we're talking about on the Frank's list happens in every business, whether it's you personally having those connections as a small business owner, or Starbucks and Old Navy and, Amazon for that matter. Everything involves these connections with people in some form. So there's no reason to think that it would be any different for us when it comes to marketing ourselves and what we have to offer to people. So, that is a very similar parallel. And from a business standpoint, it makes sense to approach our business, find the parallels, and find the way that it applies a little differently to Pampered Chef business than Starbucks. But really the concepts are the same. And the people that actually end up buying a cup of coffee or buying a food chopper are the same as well. The end user, the customer buying stuff, the message gets to them differently, but the concept is the same as far as what we have to offer, whether it is that cup of coffee or the food shopper. Now, when you're looking at people who have been customers, we also can have a lot of business cultivated outside of shows with people who were at one time part of a show. Okay, this can be a way to not just take somebody's money and say enjoy your food shopper, but build that relationship with them that's going to be beneficial to both them and you, because you're able to be cultivating that customer base that's going to continue, and also means that they have a Pampered Chef consultant checking in on them to make sure everything's okay, share some recipes, offer assistance if it's needed, help them with things, and maintain that connection. So it's not just a one and done, thank you for your order, have a nice life, but maintaining that. This customer care method of doing it is a good way to put it into a system. And I'm going to talk a little bit about systems in general and how important they are to stay on track. Natalie, I loved when you were talking about consistently that you've been providing that connection with people and maintaining that. And it doesn't necessarily result in a booking today, but again, it's just good business practice, and it's the right thing to do, because we're not, trying to just, get a check from somebody, get their credit card on our website, and then never have anything to do with them again. So it serves them, and it also serves you in your business, which that win-win is always the best way of doing things. So, just to real quickly look at this. So the 2/2/2/11, 2 days after they order. So if they've ordered on a virtual party, or they just went on your website, shoot them a text, send them a PM, call them if you want to do that, whatever it is you want to do, but reach out to them in some way to say thank you for your order, and just something that simple. 2 weeks after the order, now I'm excited to be able to say that when you contact them 2 weeks after your order, they'll probably have their order. We used to do this and then had to kind of be careful of it over the last few months. But now, 2 weeks later, and especially with direct ship now, because even if the show hasn't closed yet, that person is going to have their order by then. And this is often referred to as an out of the box call. Literally, did you get it out of the box yet? So you're saying, I'm so excited that you got your rock, tell me how you're enjoying that. What have you made in it? And either they can let you know that they love it, or they might say, boy, I haven't even gotten it out of the box yet. It does happen. And then you want to say, oh, I totally understand. Life gets really busy. How about if I send you a recipe and you want to make sure you get that out of the box and try it out? Okay. You can also let them know at this point that one of the reasons to get it out of the box and be using it is because our guarantee on our products includes a 30-day free return shipping period. Okay. The guarantee on everything is at least a year, except food products, but the free return shipping is for the first 30 days. Now, side note, right now it's 120 days, but I don't know how long that's going to go on for. So I've not been putting that out there they changed it with all the delays in shipping to 120 days of free return shipping. And it has not been pulled back yet that I know of, but it probably will be pretty soon now that we're back to normal shipping time. So, I start usually with the 30 days, or make a disclaimer in there. It's 120 days, but usually 30. I don't want them to have 120 days now and then a year from now order something thinking they still have 120 days, because people don't read the fine print. So, but if we're contacting them 2 weeks later and they haven't gotten out of the box yet, you can say, oh, I think you're going to love it. But, how about if you get it out and use it now, so that if you do have a problem or an issue, it could be that it's broken and they haven't even opened the box. They don't even know that yet. And if they don't do it until 6 months later, it still is on that, there's nothing we can do about it. So, we can still replace it, but, the return shipping is not going to be free. So again, it's just another service that you can provide, encourage them to start enjoying their products. And it's sort of an excuse, if you will, for you to connect with them. Janine, did you have something to add, or was it the 120-day thing?
No, I was going to ask about the 120 days. If we knew, I was, afraid maybe I had missed an announcement.
Not that I know of. If you did,
Okay.
I missed it too, which is possible, but I feel like that would be pretty widely publicized
Yeah, I
whenever it
think
does
so
change
too.
back. Okay, so 2 months after they've ordered, they've had a chance to be enjoying their products for a while now, and you want to talk about some other things that they might want to get. If they, picked up one of those forged cutlery knives to try it out and they love it, let's talk about getting you the whole knife block set. something like that. So you're able to kind of build on what they're already enjoying after a couple months have gone by. The last one, the 11-month one, is because of that 1-year guarantee. Because people they don't necessarily notice that. I don't normally check guarantees on things I buy until I have a problem. Well, if they don't have a problem until a year and a half or 3 years later, and within the first year it would have been taken care of, then again, sometimes if it was just a 1-year guarantee, there's nothing we can do about it. So it gives you another excuse to shoot them a text or give them a call. But it very much does serve a purpose if they say, oh yeah, actually I did have a problem with that thing, I need to get it replaced. A word about the 1-year guarantee. We do have many products that have a longer guarantee than that, anywhere from 2 years to lifetime. However, for all products, the first year is the only time they can get a refund or exchange it for something else. All the products that have a longer guarantee, it's a replacement guarantee of the same product, or if that's not available, a credit toward, getting like the current version of that skillet or something like that. But refund and exchange are available for the first year on everything. Now, for some products, it's only a year anyway, like even for replacement, the same thing. But if it is a replacement, say our stoneware is a 3-year guarantee. For the first year, if they weren't happy with it, they could get a refund. At 18 months, if it breaks, they will replace it, but they're not going to be able to get a refund. So just so you're aware of that, all that information is in Dash, and you can go there. If you're not familiar with the way the guarantee works, it's a pretty important part of the services that we offer, and people feeling confident ordering Pampered Chef things. I tell them I don't want them to ever feel like they're stuck with something. If they have a problem, let's take care of it one way or another. But the sooner you know about it and within the time frame, that gives them more options is ideal. So that's why connecting with them at 11 months is something that's going to be a great service to them. And if everything's great and they're happy, awesome. Well, let's take a look at, boy, it's been 11 months. We've had at least one new catalog, actually probably 2 come out since then. How about if we take a look at those or have a party with your friends? I'd love to share the new products with you. So, you can build on some other things into those conversations as well. But if you can build this system in and get in the habit of making these contacts with people consistently, make time in your schedule, we're going to talk about that in a little bit too, then I think that these are things that really build that customer base, and establish a really solid base for your business. Janine, you have anything to add or comment on there about that?
No, just that I can attest to what a significant impact this can have on your business. And, what you brought up, what Natalie had said earlier about, just doing this consistently is, you might not see the impact of it right away, although you might, it can be that quick, but it is definitely something you're going to see the impact of, weeks and months down the road of doing this consistently. It's just all goes to that when people think about Pampered Chef, having them think about you and have
Right.
your name be the name that pops into their head.
Mhm.
And, I just think it is so important. And I think it's important to make the distinction between, this is part of the reason, I think anyway, I never talked to Doris about this, but I think it's part of the reason that we are called consultants. We are not distributors. We are not representatives. We are not, you know what I mean? We are consultants. And when you look at what that word means, we are here, like Jill said, not just at the time of the sale. We are not a sales clerk. We are not, we do not, it's much more than that. And this is all about relationship building, in order to help people really get the most out of their products and help them to get the best experience that they can get. So yeah, that's the
absolutely.
only thing I have to add.
And it does, and Janine, you touched on this, that they will come to you when they need something, because it will set you apart. Because the reality is, this is something the company trains on. We talk about it, but a lot of consultants, I might venture to say most consultants don't do this. And so your customers will be very surprised. Sometimes even just that first thank you text. Oh, wow. They're, like I've had more than one person say, gosh, I've never heard from somebody after they after the order. And certainly not an ongoing system of just a quick check-in over the next year after they've ordered something. So it will set you apart. And it's an important thing, because in this business, and more, there's obviously been doing online. Online direct sales parties have exploded, Pampered Chef and otherwise, ever since March. And so people have a lot of options. They can get Pampered Chef from the company website, and there's a good chance they've been invited to 5 different parties in the last 6 months, right? And so if you want them to see you as their consultant, then that little bit of extra is going to make them not just think Pampered Chef, but think, oh, Rachel, she's my Pampered Chef lady. That's who I'm going to call. I'm not just looking for some random Pampered Chef, person
Jill?
or company. Yeah.
I don't know if Janine talked about this. I was zoning out for a minute there. But even when people do returns and exchanges, sometimes I feel myself saying, oh my gosh, I know I could just say to them, you can call Pampered Chef yourself. You can go online and do, but I'm like, I always do it myself because I just figure it's probably maybe easier for me to get through. I'm a little more understanding if I have issues.
Mhm.
And, so I'd rather them come to me and I can just deal with it rather than them being disappointed or just having to do one more thing, rather
Right.
than waiting a half an hour on hold, although that's been getting better. So that's
Much better. Yes. Much better. Yeah. But I think that's so true, Rachel. And I think that it's the kind of thing that is going to help them to feel better about you personally and about Pampered Chef as a company as a whole, because they've had a good experience with it. And you were a large part of doing that and creating, that kind of an experience. So let's just real quick look at some things like what you might say when you're making, of course, these are not things like the 22211 calls. Those are pretty straightforward because or messages or whatever, the timing that you're doing it dictates what you're saying at that point, at least initially, then you may be able to continue the conversation. But these are some things, and I will say, don't worry about writing all this stuff down. I can send Janine screenshots of this, and this is all recorded. You can come back and watch it anytime, after Janine gets it posted, and pause it here if you want to do things like that. So we're not going way into all the details of this. One of the things I wanted to point out is where I have in bold at the end of each thing, what do you say? Can I count you in? This was a new consultant saying, I'm a new consultant now, setting up my first parties, would love to include you. What do you say? Can I count you in? This is probably an existing consultant saying, I'd love to send you our new Pampered Chef collar. There are a lot of new products. So this is somebody who maybe hasn't seen one and saying, I have this date or this date available. What do you say? The last one is checking in, following up on a message that was not, somebody didn't respond to, saying, I just want to check back and see if you got my message from the other day. I know you're busy. It can be hard to keep up. I didn't want you to miss out on the specials. If you're interested, what do you think? Ending with a question like this is absolutely critical. It really, really, truly is. And a question that's not an easy yes or no, like, do you want to have a party? No. There's not much you can work with there. If you say, what do you think? And they say, I'm really busy right now, that's opening a conversation that you can work with, okay? If you say, I have this date or that date available, what do you say? Now, if they don't want to have a party at all, they're going to let you know. But you're helping to focus on something specific and opening the door again to that conversation, because they might not want to have a party at all, or maybe they'll just say, oh, that's a really busy month for me. You say, not a problem. How about if we do something in December? It'll be really fun for the holidays. But again, you've not had the conversation just kind of be at a standstill and harder to recover from because you were shut down. So ending with a question is critical, but the right question or the right type of question also is very, very helpful. So something like, what do you say? What do you think? How does that sound? These are conversational things instead of conversation enders. What you don't want to say, I should have a whole slide of this, is let me know.
Thank
Janine,
you.
is that what you're going to say?
That's what I was gonna say. Like from a bookings
Yes.
standpoint,
Mm-mm.
remove those 3 words from your
Yes.
vocabulary. Like,
Yes.
let me know doesn't exist because they won't.
There should
let
be
you
a
know.
whole slide. I should have made a whole slide of that. Yeah, let me know. And the thing is, we do it because we don't want to be high pressure. We want to leave options open. We don't want to, put people on the spot, that sort of thing. The reality is they will not let you know. They won't let you know. And it doesn't even mean they don't want to have a show. It just means they got busy and they forgot. And 6 months later, they go, oh yeah, that's right. I think I was thinking about having a Pampered Chef party. But it's not their job to let you know in sort of like a random sense. Let me know what you think. Or if you want to have a show, let me know. Or let me know when you want to have your party. All of those are putting more work on them. And we should be the ones doing that. Okay. That's requiring more of them. And from a thought standpoint, to come up with a date that they want to have it. And it's really putting that responsibility on them. It's also putting the control of the conversation with them, which is not where you want it to be. And I don't mean from the standpoint of like bullying them in conversation, but you don't want to, you don't want to leave the ball in their court, because that kind of leaves you either feeling like, well, I said, let me know, so I guess they're going to let me know. So now I can't do anything or I'm going to feel pushy, or try to come up with a smooth way to recover from the let me know, without being like, well, I said, let me know, but really that's not what I meant. So just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't say, let me know. These are, like I said, just a variety of different situations. And the thing is, there are 100 different situations. So we can't have a, what do you say for every possibility, but good practice across the board is have a question in there at the end and make it one that's going to elicit some conversation rather than shut down the conversation. Okay. Now, in terms of doing those contacts, now the 22211, that's a time frame, a system in terms of when you do them with individual people based on when they're ordered. What we're looking at here are the numbers of just reaching out to people. This can include those customer care contacts. So you might be doing 30 outreaches a day, and those 30 people are all people that ordered 2 months ago. So I'm doing the 2-month customer care, sending out those messages to 30 people, because those are still, kind of reaching out that way. But it might also be one of those on the earlier slide where it was a, oh, we've had a new catalog come out. I'd love to share the new products with you. Or I'm a brand new consultant and I'm excited about setting up my first host. So the context of those 30 outreaches is going to vary depending on where you are in your business and, kind of where you are on that day and who you're choosing to reach out to. But this is a really effective way to get your calendar fully booked. Having said that, I'm going to go to Janine's phrasing that I love, where what we're talking about is a full for you calendar. So you define fully booked, okay? Whether that's 4 shows a week, which is about what I do, it might be 10 shows a month. Some of you responded you wanted to do 2 shows a month. That's fine. Keep doing this until your calendar. Now, I would recommend that your calendar is fully booked for more than 1 month, especially if you're only wanting to do, say, 2 to 5 shows. Because if you reach out to 30 people and you get 2 bookings, and that means that you're full for November, the drawback there is that you're not going to have a lot of resources from the November shows to get more. Okay. And so you're going to want to continue. I would say if you're wanting to do less than 8 shows a month, which is totally fine, but if you're doing 2, 4, 6 shows, then do 30 outreaches a day until you have like 3 months booked. So you might have 3 in November and 3 in December and 3 in January. And then you could go down to maybe, 5 a day or something, reaching out to people. But there's a, the dynamics are going to be different, not only in that individual month. So technically, if you had 3 shows in November and then you stop making booking contacts, yes, technically you've got a full calendar in November, but the ongoing stability of your business is not going to function in the same way. Partly because of those 3 booked shows, there's a good chance one of them is going to cancel or not pan out. So now you're down to 2. And even if you got 2 bookings from each, that's just not giving you as much to work with. So I would recommend that you absolutely focus on what your definition of fully booked is, but shift the pulling back a little bit based on like how many months you're trying, wanting to get that consistency built into your business. Now, one thing I will say too, though, is that you don't ever want to completely pull back from this. So this is 30 outreaches a day until your calendar is fully booked. So what happens when it's fully booked? You don't stop. You might go to 5 contacts a day or 10 in an effort to actually talk to or get a response from 1 or 2 people. Okay. So this needs to be happening all the time. What does happen sometimes, I know I've done it, Janine's done it, some of you may have, is I go in going, oh, wow, and I really, want to work on my November. So I make all these contacts and I get November done and then I stop. And yes, I'm going to get bookings from that November, those November shows. But if I was getting bookings from the November shows and also continuing to make some contacts, not at the 30 per day level, that's not something that has to happen for the rest of your Pampered Chef career, but something I can't completely step away from any of those contacts. So even if what I'm continuing is just those customer care calls, the 222 calls, that's going to keep you in touch with other people outside of the bookings that you have coming up. So you're getting that good balance of things. Now, reaching out 30 times a day, is because your goal is to actually connect with people, 25 people a week. So that's 5 per day. If you're doing, so if you're doing 30 reach outs a day, 5 days a week, and you're, hopefully you get to sort of an average of hearing back from 5 of those people out of 30. So the contact here, we're talking about the two-way conversation. So that's where you texted someone and they texted you back, or you called them and then they, sent you a message, or whatever that might be. But again, it's a conversation rather than just reaching out. And this is where, you kind of want to get to that, that level of actually connecting with people and, not leaving it to just, well, I sent out 30 texts, didn't hear back from anybody. Sometimes that'll happen, but then the next day you might send 30 and you might hear back from 7. And then you might send out 30 and you might hear back from 3, but then you might hear back from 10 another time. So, it's going to be not necessarily a straight 30 and 5, but just it's good to have something that you're shooting for. So you kind of can get a handle on how you're doing, how your results are. If you're sending out 30 a day and you're not hearing back, then it might be a good idea to check on your wording a little bit. And see, do I want to maybe take a little bit of a different approach in the message that I'm sending that might be more likely to elicit a response. So, the fact of knowing what you're doing and the results you're getting can be helpful to celebrate when they're great results and to see where there's some opportunities to tweak it a little bit as well. All right. So any questions or comments about that stuff that we've just talked about, which is the bookings outside of shows?
Wait, can you go back to the last slide?
That one?
And talk about the that last little blip there.
Yes, good eye, Natalie. Yes, absolutely. So this is well, I think we're getting back to doing out and about more, because this is the this sort of mini catalog or recipe card kind of a challenge to give yourself, is for making contacts with people when you're out and about. So it might be at school, at church, at the gym, at the grocery store, especially if you have like places where you shop frequently and you're chatty with the cashier or something like that. The idea is to be collecting information, adding people to your contacts, okay, to expand your customer base and your contact base. So you can get mini catalogs from the home office, you can print a flyer from Consultant's Corner, you can make up a recipe flyer or anything, cards, something like that. Put 10 in your bag at the beginning of the week. And you can take the door prize slip that you can get from the supply order or from with your kit. And you also could make one yourself, something like that. The point is you want to get their information. And a nice way to do that is to also give them something, because it can open up the conversation. It's an exchange. And so the way it would work is you're chatting with somebody. Oh, I'm with Pampered Chef. Have you ever heard of it? Just ask them if they're familiar with it. You can even say, oh, I'm just wondering if there are many consultants in this area or something like that to kind of open the conversation. And then say, I do a drawing every week or every month, and I'd love to include you. And you're giving them a mini catalog or recipe card and asking them to get, fill out the drawing slip to go into your drawing. So it can be a really helpful way to expand outside of the circle of your friends and family, of the current shows you have going on, and, kind of bringing in totally new people that you wouldn't have met otherwise, and kind of building a comfortable way to do that. Okay.
Just to expand on that a little bit, after you do that, what you want to do is, with that information, follow up with them. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. When I used to do this, I haven't done it for a long time, but when I used to do it, when I was building my business, everybody won that drawing.
Yeah.
Because you want a reason to call that person and congratulations. And they got a season's best or, whatever. But it was something that that was the way that I handled it. And it was quite effective, actually. The other thing that you can do, though, we heard an awesome idea, and I love this. I think, was this from Jill from Sharon the other night? Sharon, right? Was it Sharon?
Yeah,
or
Sharon,
Sarah. Who did for the virtual meeting. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the mini catalogs are also available in digital format. And particularly the holiday one is going to be of interest to people right now. So you could actually do this mini catalog challenge through social media or through texting, because you could reach out to 10 people or whatever, and see if they're interested in that holiday mini, and then have an opportunity to follow up with them. I mean, granted, the drawing part might play out a little bit differently. And honestly, I just thought of this while I was sitting here. So, you know, as far as doing it, but what I think Sharon had said the other day was she put on her, I don't remember if it was Facebook or whatever some form of social media, that the holiday mini is now available. Who wants one? And everybody that contacted her or commented on that with that they were interested, then she private messaged them and, you know, was able to kind of open a conversation. And I think so she did that. And then the next day she posted about the cinnamon and the two
vanilla,
cinnamons and the vanilla as being, you know, available right now just during the holiday season. And they, you know, you take those two things, kind of combine them together. And what she did was the people who were interested in that, the cinnamon, either, you know, the cinnamons or the vanilla, she said, that's great. Like, I can order that for you, but I bet some of your friends might like to have those for their holiday baking as well. Would you like to, you know, see if you can collect some orders and turn it into a party, and they can get their cinnamon and vanilla for free, you know? And, you know, she got, I think, what did she say? Three parties out of that. She's got
like $1,000 in sales. Yeah.
Already for November, just from that, you know, doing that reach out. So just putting that out there for people, that the holiday mini,
you know what you might want to do, I'm sorry, with that holiday mini, you might want to say, tell people to message you to get it, because if you message them, they'll get it, but they don't have to respond to you. And that does not open up unless they like respond to you. It doesn't open up that message bridge, that message connection on Messenger.
Yeah, especially if you're not friends with them.
Right,
like
right.
They, you know,
although I mean, if it's on your personal wall, then it's people you're friends with
usually,
anyway. So
right.
yeah, that's true. That wouldn't make such a difference. Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was,
Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, how can you find the holiday mini? So it's in the same place as the digital catalog for this season. So you're gonna go to Consultants Corner, and then to Explore, and then in the training section, there is a section called This Season's Resources, I think is what it is, something like that. And it's in there.
All right.
I found another way to get to it the other day, and now I can't remember what it was. So that's the way I know for sure. And it's one of the links it's in there. So
okay. All righty. Well, we're going to take a break, you guys. I cannot believe we've been on here like an hour and a half. We didn't start right at 2, but still.
I know.
So we're going to take a break. If you need to use the bathroom, get a new cup of coffee or something like that. But I am going to ask you to do this. We're going to get off of this Zoom. I realized the thing with the breakout rooms is a setting I had to do before we got on here. So we're going to have everybody get off, come back in 5 minutes. Just, it's the same link. So use the same link you did the first time, but sign off and then back on. And then we should be able to, because in a little bit here, I want to use the breakout rooms for something else. Okay. So I will see you in, what time is it? 3:30. So 3:35.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Set your timer for 5 minutes.
Yes. Set your timer for 5 minutes. Okay. And